Hey, so I am working on some homework right now. I'm working on a paper on character development and ethics and how our inner development determines our outer actions and our behaviors. And in order to get have an ethical organization, ultimately, you need to have good inner character and inner development. And as I'm reading and I'm going through the work, there's a lot of content from Aristotle, and which is interesting because I haven't read or heard about him in a long time. And as I'm reading some of his work, I just realized, like, wow, we don't really have philosophers in our day and age anymore, do we? I feel like back in the day, there were so many philosophers and deep thinkers and, people that really gave us just these rich, in depth, thoughts about things. And I don't know if we have that anymore. I feel like now content is just quick and fast and short and shallow, even. So anyway, that was just a kind of realization that I had. It made me also want to go and read more from philosophy books. When I first started going to school way back, like right out of high school, I went to community college, which was not for me. I did not do well in community college. But I signed up for a philosophy class and I hated it. But I think it had a lot to do with I just don't do well in a classroom, which is very strange because I love teaching, I love learning, but I think I'm just such a creative brain and I just don't do well in too much structure. So anyway, I was just reading some of the content for my class, some of the curriculum, and just realizing, like, wow, we really don't have these in-depth kinds of thinkers anymore. It made me want to be an in-depth thinker, and it made me want to have great thoughts to share with people. One encouraging thing about Aristotle, never knew this, he studied everything. He studied zoology. Like, why? Like, why did he need to study zoology? And all of these other, just, he had a long list of things that he was an expert in, and it was able to form his thoughts, and it was able to form his philosophy and his thinking and the depth that he had. And what is really cool, what I love about this is there's lots of things I love about this. I'm going to share one or two of them. So what I love about this is a few years ago, several years ago actually, when I was deciding to go back to school for my master's degree, the Lord was really showing me a little bit of context there. I was planning to go to school to become a therapist. That was my whole lifelong plan, to become a therapist. And in that season, I came to the realization that I didn't think it was the path for me. I didn't think that it was what God had for me. And so I had been praying and asking the Lord, like, what do I do with my life? And what I realized in that, the Lord started highlighting to me, he would just highlight people that had this like depth. And I could feel their wisdom. I could feel their depth in their thoughts. I could feel the depth in their theology. I could feel their depth in the wisdom that they had. And he highlighted this to me, and I would just know, like, oh, that person has like deep wisdom. And what I thought was really neat was every single person I felt that about, they had a higher education, always a master's, usually a doctorate degree. And in that, I started realizing, okay, like the Lord wants me to go to school for, a specific path. And what I've just learned as I've paid attention to people is that most people that have that depth in their wisdom, that depth in their understanding, they have spent significant time learning and studying and being engrossed in whatever that topic is. A lot of times it's usually education, like schooling that they've had. Sometimes it could just be the school of life. But I've noticed that over time, and I think the Lord's highlighted it to me, one, because it's part of the calling he put on my life was to continue my education, but also to highlight to me, like, that the more that we learn, the more that we take in, what we take in matters as well. But the more that we um, go after wisdom, the more that wisdom, I just feel it like comes out of our belly. Um, so when people say education is not important, or education doesn't matter, or going to school is a waste of time, I don't agree. I am somebody who dropped out of school at 17 years old. I dropped out of school. I only actually got like a ninth or 10th grade education, dropped out of school, and now I'm on the verge of completing my doctorate. And it is because of education that I am where I am in life. Not just like job and career, but emotionally and character wise, and mental development. A lot of my internal development has come because of going back to school. I've had to learn how to be disciplined. I've had to learn how to be self-disciplined, self-taught, self-led, all of these things that have come because I went back to school. And I have a lot of wisdom and a lot of education, a lot of knowledge, also because I have studied so much. So when people say education doesn't matter, or, it's just a degree, you could do anything, like, sure, yeah, like you could go and get a job without a degree. I'm not saying that isn't true. But I would definitely press back and challenge people that say education doesn't matter, because you get a lot of character development in your education. Now, do you need education for character development? No, you don't, but it's just one of the ways that you can get there. But again, I think the more that you learn, the more you glean, the more you take in, you do end up having this, you're building your reservoir of depth of wisdom that you carry. So be a learner of life. Like, go and, learn all the things. Go back to school, whatever that means for you. Be a YouTube versity, scholar. Whatever it means for you. To get that, because it does matter. It does shape how you're developed. It shapes how you're formed. It shapes how you make decisions. I often find that when I'm making a decision about something, the Lord will bring to mind things, things that I've learned in school, things about businesses, things about organizations, things that, like I might not necessarily even use it in my work setting or my business setting, but he'll bring something to mind in a everyday situation. He'll remind me of the company that did this as I'm making a decision to do something, which is really neat. He uses it also in my work and in my my leadership and the things that I'm doing, but he also just uses that in everyday life. Wisdom is not wasted. Wisdom will never, ever, ever be wasted. So it's, in fact, the Bible says that it is more valuable than silver. It is the most valuable thing that you can get. And the Bible tells us to go chase it, go get it, go like chase after wisdom, because it is the most important thing that you could ever get. So I think if there's something you want to learn, go learn. Could be, it doesn't have to be going to school. It could be learning a skill, learning a talent, learning an arts, learning how to play the guitar. All of those things are a way to get wisdom. That is my little lesson for the week, my little nugget for the week, and see you next time.